Good evening to you. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojobaka. Executive Director of the Institute for Economic Affairs, Dr. John Kwache, is accusing the Bank of Ghana for using monetary policy tools to finance the 2024 budget at the detriment of domestic banks. According to him, the high interest rates and high cash reserves ratio create unfavorable conditions for the banks as well as affect the operations and access to cash to lend to individuals and businesses.
The pace of disinflation had slowed in the first 2 months of 2024. The Bank of Ghana's latest inflation forecast suggested a slight elevated profile. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana saw overall risk to inflation to be slightly on the upside. It was based on the foregoing considerations that the MPC decided to maintain the policy rate at 29%. Now, to us, however, this decision is problematic. The decision to maintain the tight monetary policy stance when the drivers of inflation are not directly amenable to the policy rate is puzzling. We have long pointed to the futility of using the policy rate, a demand instrument, exclusively to fight inflation, which has strong supply and cost undercurrents. What is needed are complementary measures to address the inflation drivers, that's food prices, fuel prices, utility prices, transport fares, and the exchange rate directly. As we have repeatedly argued, interest rates in the country are prohibitively high and represent a drag on investment and growth. And this is because they are being artificially held up by a misplaced and misdirected monetary policy, which has to change. The Monetary Policy Committee also announced other complementary policy measures, specifically relating to reserve requirements. Again, as we have argued before, the cash reserve ratio, which now ranges from 15 to 25%, is unnecessarily high. In most jurisdictions, reserve requirements have been completely abolished. They impose a high cost burden on banks, which is then passed on in high lending rates, which are suffocating the economy.
On the back of that, government is being urged to diversify its long-term forex earnings to stabilize the cedi rather than depending on foreign inflows. This advice follows assertions by the Institute of Economic Affairs that the central bank is engaging in a lazy work by relying on periodic inflows from the World Bank, Cocoa Syndicated Loan, and the IMF to stabilize the cedi. Now, reacting to this issue, economist Dr. Patrick Esumen stated that the Bank of Ghana had done enough, therefore government must ensure its fiscals are targeted at long-term sustainable policies. He spoke to Joy Business.
So thankfully, it's not just a criticism. It's a criticism that comes with a suggestion. My sense is that the IEA is giving the right advice to the wrong quarters. You have to understand that the suggestions that the IEA make on how to make sure that the cedi is stable on the long-term basis, making sure that we owe a greater share of our natural resources, reducing our dependence on imports, and expanding our industrial base to do more value addition. Those are valid. But I think that you shouldn't expect that is part of the responsibility of the central bank. The central bank's role is management of the currency. So while I think that it is accurate to say we can't only depend on the demand management side, the demand for forex management side, which is what the Bank of Ghana does, I think that it is fair that those things are taken up by the fiscal side. You know, at different points in their statement, they also rightly point out that it appears that the monetary is doing too much. Some of the things that the fiscal should be doing. I think this kind of criticism falls in that line. If you say that the monetary authority is doing too much, it's time for the fiscal to take up some of the slack. This is something that should be directed to the central government, by way of coming up with long-term sustainable policy to change our dependence on these foreign inflows for stabilizing the currency. So I think that while I agree with the suggestion that we should diversify our long-term forex earnings, I think that asking that the central bank should be the ones to doing this is a little bit, sending that advice to the wrong quarter.
Talking about the central bank and the Cedi, the Bank of Ghana has again started increasing the amount of dollars it supplies onto the market to help stabilize the Cedi. Now, this is what Joy Business has picked up from some commercial banks. More in the following Business Desk reports.
From around $5 million to the commercial banks and business to meet their foreign exchange demand, the Bank of Ghana is now doing more than $10 million. Joy Business is learning that, for instance, about $50 million was released onto the market for last week. This represents some significant increase from the levels that the central bank was supplying to the market early last month. The foreign exchange that the regulator has been supplying onto the market is different from that dollar auction program the central bank is currently implementing. It is, for instance, planning to sell about $120 million to the importers of petroleum products for this quarter. The Bank of Ghana has also increased the cash reserve requirement for the commercial banks. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, for instance, has maintained this fresh measure should go a long way to help slow the rate of depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar.
Away from the central bank and its related stories, senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Seram Kawo, is entreating government to be transparent and accountable in order to attain the confidence of Ghanaians in its quest to mobilize revenue domestically. As the visiting IMF team reviews Ghana's tax measures, Dr. Kawo is optimistic that when government is prudent and accountable with its expenditure, Ghanaians will welcome its tax measures.
Government wants to raise enough money, and you want to convince us that you are going to use the money for the intended purpose. Transparency, accountability, probity. What we need. We need to see that our monies are being used for the right things. We need to see that you are not spending unnecessarily and we are not getting value for money for projects that you are undertaking. We don't have to wake up one day for government to tell us that this is the tax we want you to pay, so go and pay it. There is the need for town hall meetings, engagement with the population, social media engagement, radio, TV engagement. Let us all buy into it. And you tell us how you are going to use that particular amount of money that you are raising in terms of the new taxes. So that when, at the end, we can measure you with that particular one.
Okay.
Emission tax is being implemented. How are you going to use it? How much has been raised so far? You don't tell us that the tax has gone into the consolidated fund, and for that matter, we don't need to know. In that way, there will always be resistance. When there was resistance in terms of the e-levy, we have found government officials having town hall meetings. The town hall meeting should have preceded the promulgation of the e-levy act.
All right.
And then the implementation of that particular one. So we want government to go down to the people. But when you stay up there and you want to implement policies, and these policies, the people do not understand the policy tends to be ineffective.
Let's now do something from the energy sector because some oil marketing companies have adjusted prices at the pumps as of this morning. This is in line with the 2 weeks pricing window. Checks on the market also showed that some of the companies have started implementing the new price guidelines. There is more in this report.
Market leader Govt, which was selling a litre of petrol on March 1 this year at 13 cedis 49 pesos, this morning is selling a litre of petrol for 13 cedis 99 pesos. On the other hand, diesel is now selling at 14 cedis 60 pesos, up from the 14 cedis 49 pesos a litre on March 1, 2024. Another player, Shell, is selling a litre of petrol at 13 cedis 60 pesos, while diesel is going for 14 cedis 60 pesos. Total Energies, which has gone up by a similar margin, actually adjusted price at the pumps on Monday, April 1, 2024. Some of the players are linking the increase to challenges with the Ghana cedi and rising price of crude oil on the international market. Joy Business even understands that more oil marketing firms will be increasing prices from tomorrow morning. It appears the decision by government to suspend charging the stabilization levy on fuel did not do much to halt this increase. But some industry players insist we could have witnessed a higher increase in price at the pumps if government had not suspended the levy. Well, it appears some of the oil marketing companies have also started implementing the new guidelines for pricing of the petroleum product. For instance, under the new regulations, oil marketing companies are now allowed to differentiate when it comes to pricing depending on their location. Well, it looks like Star Oil is taking the lead on this. This morning, Star announced that petrol is going for 12 cedis 97 pesos per litre, while diesel is selling at 13 cedis 97 pesos. It however announced that some selected service stations across the country will sell diesel and petrol lower than what it has announced.
More within the space, the Independent Power Generators Ghana has applauded government's decision to stop the export of power to Togo, Burkina Faso and Benin. The group, in a press statement signed by its chief executive, Elikplim Akpetogbo, said the action would go a long way in providing some respite and stability to the domestic market by increasing electricity supply, even though it may not solve the power supply challenges entirely. Lithium mining firm Atlantic Lithium has submitted an application to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. This is in fulfillment of the company's commitment to ensure Ghanaian participation in the law or the new discovery of lithium in the central region. There is more in the following report.
Atlantic Lithium, the Woya Basin mining company which has a mineral investment and income fund, as the fourth largest shareholder, will be listed on the Ghanaian bourse by the third quarter of 2024. Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Investment and Income Fund, Edward Nanaya Okranti, in a meeting with Canadian investors in Toronto, disclosed that the move is part of initiatives to boost the country's capital market with natural resource-backed investment. Atlantic Lithium has submitted its application for listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange following its announcement of high-grade results from resource drilling completed in the flagship Ewoya lithium project at the central region of Ghana. The company signed a 15-year mining lease agreement with the government of Ghana last year for the mining and processing of lithium within the period, with an initial investment of about $33 million from the Mineral Investment and Income Fund. The listing on the local bourse is a strategic move influenced by the MIIF to involve more locals into the new natural resource discovery.
Let's now talk insurance, shall we? Ghana's insurance market is set to see both life and non-life insurance growth at double-digit rates over the medium term. Overall, insurance penetration is projected to remain at 1% due to the population's lack of understanding of the benefits of life and non-life insurance coverage. Joy Business's James Ishen has been exploring some misconceptions of insurance among Ghana's informal sector players and has come through with this report.
The market size of insurance sector in Ghana is being projected to reach almost 2.69 billion cedis in 2024. Now, and this is according to Statista.com. The insurance sector in our part of the world had been experiencing quite a number of issues. We're having issues with coverage, we're having issues with penetration, some are having issues with claim payments and all that. And the insurance sector itself seems to be progressing, or there have been some progressive growth when it comes to our insurance sector in Ghana. So we are here currently at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle to engage the informal sector players to know what they make of insurance, their experience so far with respect to insurance. So follow me as we do more on this particular insurance bit.
Priscilla signed up for an insurance package with the expectation of getting her money after an unforeseen circumstance, but tells me she was shortchanged.
I don't fancy insurance again because I was serving with one of the banks, and one of the tellers said that I should do insurance because I'm always come to the bank, and I said, okay, fine. So they did hospital policy for me. So they pay me through that bank. So every month they will just deduct 50 cedis from my pay for 2 months with some 6 months or something. So that the 2 months reached, I went to the bank to ask for my money. They said that unless I've been admitted at the hospital with receipts and those things. So I decided, I told my boss not to pay me through that bank again. So now I don't fancy that insurance, and I don't believe in that because it's a scam.
You spoke about it being a scam. When you're going to sign up onto that insurance package, what were some of the information being given to you?
Actually, I'll blame the person who did it for me because maybe she wants clients. So she didn't explain it into deep for me, but if she did, I'll not do it. I'll never do it because if they said in case if I'm sick and I've been to the government hospital before, they'll give me my money. Like, I won't do it.
So what do you make of insurance general based on your experience?
It's a scam.
But there are other people too who also end up benefiting from insurance.
It depends on the policy the person is doing, and it will depend on the person who wants to fill the forms for you and do everything for you.
The National Insurance Commission has admitted that low education on insurance is partly to be blamed for the country's low insurance coverage. This is because many individuals lack the knowledge of the need to insure or invest in insurance.
Insurance dwells a lot on education. And people tend to buy or spend their monies on what they appreciate, what they understand, and what gives value to them.
For national service personnel like Linda, wants more to be done to improve the sector.
I actually went to the bank to create an account so I could be paying my school fees, and then I was approached over there. I don't know if it was an educational but I think I was told that every month, I think 100 cedis will be deducted from my account, and then after 3 years or 4 years, I could withdraw or something like that.
But you've not followed up?
I've not followed up, and no one is following up, so I don't even know what happened to my money. You know, majority of us are not educated with regards to that. So I think that, even if you approach me and I say yes, you should do a follow-up, be sending text messages, this is what's going on, your accounts, or like something, just be engaging us. I think that should help.
Thomas Labi, a car rental dealer, commended the sector players, but calls for more streamlined activities of the sector.
I'm using so many cars, and the insurance, when you do the comprehensive, it helps you a lot.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Insurance Association has revealed that the inconsistent exchange rate regime has affected the payment of some claims to customers.
We have this mindset to say it's like susu we are doing. But here's a situation where we are taking fractions and paying out whole numbers. So it's a very challenging situation.
Osei, a taxi driver, has been driving for over 30 years now. He's pleased with the state of insurance in Ghana. Meanwhile, he's calling on the sector players to fish out fraudulent persons within the sector.
Insurance, me feel say na yen drivers no, yen insurance companies no, enyom. If say unya accident, unko for claims, usi omi ameye. Why say we so utia insurance? I say BBC uko report mom. Most of the drivers ni enko. Into the BMI insurance firm, no omu geni every drivers. Me say no, my driver over 40-something years. Me nya accident, me demand insurance. Any claims no sumeji. If you say me the one day, any insurance.
Ebinu ekase insurance infasubi enisu. What do you make of that?
Infaso insurance.
What he's basically saying is there are a lot of benefits when it comes to insurance in our part of the world, but it appears the responsibility is on the side of the ordinary Ghanaian or the driver that had to make sure that his claims are being paid and also these claims are being streamlined in a way that would suit him. These are some of the concerns some of the drivers here are raising. I've been engaging some other Ghanaians who are also involved in other sectors of the economy, and some actually tell me the insurance sector has a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, others are also saying they benefit from insurance. So it's more or less a mixed reaction from these section of Ghanaians when it comes to insurance. For Joy Business, James Ishen.
Kenya's President William Ruto has described the current setup of the African Union as dysfunctional, adding that there is little accountability in the structures of the Union. Now, the leader of the East African country is paying a state visit to Ghana, revealed today that he has had close talks with Ghana's President Akufo-Addo, on the need to reform the African Union and its institutions to transform the continent. As part of his activities for the day, William Ruto delivered a public lecture at the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Accra, where he strongly urged Africans to join hands in changing the narrative of an Africa inflated with poverty and low level of development. More in the following report.
A rousing welcome for Kenya's President Dr. William Ruto, who's on a state visit to the Republic of Ghana. The East African leader, as part of his activities, delivered a lecture at the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Secretary-General of the continental body, Wamkele Mene, in his address to the gathering, pointed out how pivotal the African Continental Free Trade Area is and plans to turn around the fortunes of the continent using the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Of course, much remains to be done to make sure that we all realize the ambitions and the goals of the AFCFTA. It presents an unprecedented opportunity for our continent to continue to break the legacy of colonialism. That effort to break the legacy of colonialism, as we all know, started in May 1963 in Addis Ababa at the formation of the Organization of African Unity. We are therefore well poised, a continent of 1.4 billion people, with a combined GDP that is projected by the year 2050 to be close to 16.2 trillion United States dollars. We're well poised to be a single market that is globally competitive, that has advanced industrial development capabilities, that has food security to feed herself by eliminating barriers to trade in intra-Africa.
Taking his turn to address the gathering, Kenya's President William Ruto called for reforms in the global financial architecture, while leaving no stone unturned in also calling for accountability and reforms within the African Union.
President Nana Akufo-Addo told us this morning some significant statistics that intra-European trade is all the way to 73-75%. Intra-African trade is down at 12, maybe 14, maybe 15%. And it speaks volumes of not where we are, but the potential that exists for us to grow our trade. It is important for us, if we have to have an African Union that works for the people of our continent, it must be accountable, and there must be a mechanism to adjudicate, a court to adjudicate on matters that affect our organization.
The African Continental Free Trade Area has been described as the last opportunity for the continent to transform and to turn around its economic fortunes. After today's lecture, there is a common resolve by all actors to trade more amongst African countries and to boost economic growth across the continent.
That is very, very key, because in all this trade, there's the need to have a stabilized financial system. And also, it was a good occasion to hear from His Excellency Mene Wamkele talk about the next phase, the next direction, and also to meet captains of industry here to listen. And I know what His Excellency Ruto said, he's going to do it.
I have also confidence in the Continental Free Trade when they assured that they are expecting about 10 billion in the Afri-Exim Bank. That is the essence. If you're able to give resources to the Afri-Exim Bank so that they use it as an onward credit to the trading populace, then of course the attraction also comes.
Blessed Sugan reporting for Joy News, Trade House, Accra.
Thanks so much for watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Great stories on that portal. See you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.